on the page, and that I was just clapping. That was that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a hand raise.
So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I mean, this today is just talking about the content, but every part of SEO we get into. And usually these meetings they're supposed to be just an hour, but I have yet to have one that hasn't gone 2 hours. And I tell people at the hour, I said, if you got to go, that's fine. Because we start getting the process going, we start talking about it, and everybody's got questions, and we're here to answer them. I even had somebody ask in the group the other day, they posted a message and asked if this meeting was free. That's a good question, but it's the first time that I've ever seen anybody ask it. I thought, oh, well, I never thought about that. But I thought I would send a message to them and say, no, it's $100. So my caffeine buzz keep going. Okay. So when you're writing your content, engage the people, write a lot. Now, if you're writing your content and you've got your keywords set in stone, what you want to make sure to do is get your keywords as close to the beginning of any sentence as possible. And the reason I took so long to say that is because that's extremely important. The search engines are looking for a lot of things, and part of that is the density. So how many times in that single page has that keyword phrase been repeated? That's density. And you also want to make sure that you have you're giving the keywords priority by pushing them to the front of the sentence. If it's giving it more authority, the closer to the beginning of the sentence that you put your keywords, the more authority that keyword phrase has. So the opposite is also true. If you end the sentence with your keyword phrase, then you've just told the search engines that's really not an important keyword term. So you have to be careful with that. That's why it's so good, and the idea of recording yourself and then going back to edit all of that. Somebody's dog wants their attention. When you go back to edit, you've got to make sure that you push those words to the front of the sentence and try whatever you have to do. You know, you got to think about it. Well, the sentence doesn't make sense if I start with the keyword term. A lot of the times, the best way to do it is write the keyword term, and then think about the sentence that you're going to write with the keyword term being either the first or the second word. So if it's two keyword term, it could be the letter A before it. A, my product or service, or my product or service. And then you go on to talk about it. So I haven't seen any hands up. I'm thinking you guys are really good at taking notes, or you're just so into this that you're going, okay, he's going to tell me. He's going to answer my question without my asking. At any time, if you have a question, feel free to raise a hand, put up that reaction hand, whichever you want to do. If you're on video, just throw your hand up. So the authority of that keyword phrase is important. Just make sure it's always at the front of the sentence, or as close to the front of the sentence as you can get. Beyond that, passion and the authority of the keyword phrase are really the whole thing to all of your content. Those are critical secrets. But other than that, it's write the content as if, just like I'm talking to you right now. I'm recording this, so I could literally go back and say, well, let's see if I can optimize this information. There's no point because this is a Zoom meeting, but it's the same idea. Record yourself, play it back, and then write. And when you play it back, when you transcribe it, you'll now have it sitting in front of you, and you'll stare at your text for hours. It is not a simple thing to do. But doing your own SEO is very time consuming. And I'm going to stop there for just a second, because you should all understand right now why it is so flippin' flappin' expensive to hire somebody to do your SEO. Hold on for a minute. I've got to write your content. Because most people who want to have somebody do their SEO, they fudge the entire time. You know, they'll kick their feet around. They'll come up with every excuse in the book why they haven't given the developer the content. Now, I nipped that one in the bud many years ago. I figured, okay, I'll give you 2 days. I don't tell the person that, but I'll give you 2 or 3 days to give me that content. If I don't have it, I'm going to write the content. And then I have the person come back at me and jump up and down and go, wait, that's not what I wanted. Oh, have you written it? Well, no. That's why I wrote it. So now we can either edit this or you can send me the content, but you've got to get that to the person. I don't know your product as well as you. So you cannot expect somebody to hire somebody for your SEO and then expect them to know your product so they can write the content. You know better than anybody else what the product is about, what your service is, and how passionate you can be about it. So if you do hire somebody, do not expect them to write the content because it'll be terrible. They don't know anything about your business. They can do all the SEO except the content. And trust me, there have been many times that I have actually written the content, like I said, and they go, okay, whatever. Well, I know that it may not be as engaging as what they would have written, but it worked to be able to get the site onto page 1. And understand too that once you do attain that page 1, you got to be very careful when you're editing your site, because if you decide, well, I'm going to go in and rewrite that content, whoa, you've got a good chance that you may have to start your SEO all over. So if you've attained a page 1 position, you want to really seriously consider whether you're going to touch anything on that page. What you all think about that while I answer Brad's question. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, as far as like freelance sites too, does this translate well on freelance sites with keywords? Because I know you have to have a certain density of keywords in your paragraphs when you're trying to sell a gig. So, yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
SEO is SEO. It doesn't make a darn bit of difference who you're doing it for, where it is, or anything else. The only thing that really changes is the specific text. I mean, there's keyword phrases, but all the steps for SEO are the same. Write good content, have your meta tags done, have the description written, make sure you've got image. I'm going to stop on the image. It sounds like you've done some or you're doing some development. Do not. See how I stopped there? So I got your attention.
Yeah.
Do not use the image alt tag just for your keywords. That will get you into trouble.
You know, as far as ranks.nl is concerned, right? If I'm looking up the best keywords for what I do I have to have the paid membership for that to get those specific keywords?
Okay, the keywords that Ranks is going to show you, and I'm going to answer 2 questions at once.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it looks like Kaylee Doki answered Maryland. Maryland, there's, yeah, that's right. And the question was from, where did it go now? Oh, Dawn. Dawn, yeah, just take the .com off of there. It's ranks.nl. NL is another country. .com just means commercial. So no .com in that one.
I'm still not finding it. I'm trying to get it pulled up, but I guess I'll switch over to Google. It's Safari isn't pulling it up, so let me.
ranks.nl. That's Ranks NL.
Yeah, you don't have to put anything in front of it. It takes a little while to run because it's coming out of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So there is a little delay. Also, I just registered for it, and it takes 2 business days for them to review and respond to you.
He says that, but that's not true. I mean,
Okay.
I've communicated with the guy. He usually has it done in just, a couple of hours, and you get your thing via email. Okay, you're done.
Cool. I'll
At
check it
most,
out.
at most, it's the next day.
Okay.
I've never gone any longer than that. Maybe it's
Thank
because
you.
I use it
I
so
found
often.
it. I had to go to Google, so thank you.
You did find it, Dawn?
I did find it. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
And it will, and don't worry too much about it if you don't find it today, or you don't have too many questions answered about it, because it's something that you're definitely going to use, but you don't need to have it today. And I do have it listed in the weekly posts. Number of times a keyword should be included. Well, Meredith, that's a loaded question, because several years ago, there was a limit to keyword density, and it was 3%. Today, there isn't a limit per se, but if you read your page and like every 3 sentences, the keyword phrase appears out of, say, 12 paragraphs, how many times is that? I mean, how many sentences? When you repeat it too many times, that's obvious. And that works against you. So it's not a matter of how many times can you have it. If you are in the neighborhood of 3-4%, it's a little high, but it's acceptable. I used to try to make sure that I never got any higher than, say, 2.5%. But nowadays, because you want to have more content, you could go as, it really depends. If it's really engaging content, it makes sense to hit that 5%, well, then okay, that's fine. Just be careful. Don't put the keywords in there just to put the keywords in there. And that kind of goes back to Brad, you were asking about keywords and ranks. Ranks isn't where you're going to go to get the keywords. It's showing you what's on your page, nothing else. They don't tell you what you need to do other than a message if something isn't there or something's wrong. The keyword planner, which going back and talking about the weekly posts underneath our resources on our group page, week 8 is the one that has ranks.nl in there. So you can read those things and find ranks NL there. But you want the keyword planner, and I believe that's either week 2 or week 3. You use the keyword planner from Google, and that is how you find your terms. And of course, the first question is, how do you come up with the terms to search? You just guess what sounds like it would be a good search term for you. You type that in, then Google shows you the results. If your results are less than 10,000, and sometimes they're going to be 0 to 1,000, that's terrible, even for local searching. If you're 100 to say 1,000, it's not bad, depending on what your product is, what your business is, and how much of an area you're trying to encompass. The larger your area, the better those keywords need to be. So you need more people searching. If you got 10,000 to 100,000, now the lights should go on going, okay, I can start working with a keyword that's similar to that. That particular one isn't there. So generally you want to have, let's say 10,000 as a base, unless you are only working within like your neighborhood or just outside of your neighborhood. If you're working in the city, yeah, 1,000's okay, but you're still not going to get much. You plan on roughly 1% of the traffic that's using that keyword term for the month. And the keyword planner tells you how many people search. So if there's 1,000 people and you were on page 1 for that term, you might get 10 people. So can your business survive with that? And that's in a month. So it's not a good term is what I'm trying to tell you. Let me go, Zachary, I think you were next. You got a question. Zachary Boswell, come on down.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, great. This is fantastic. I'm really pleasantly surprised by this. I wasn't expecting so much great information on SEO content. So I do have one question. If I have a lot of content that I've written for as a business content writer for posts in my idle time on LinkedIn and other sites, and then I want to put that on a professional blog or website for myself, is that going to cause any conflict with SEO optimization?
Yep. Don't do that.
All right.
Oh, and by the way, the questions cost you $100 per.
Okay.
If you're writing, if there's content that's written someplace and you want to take that and put it someplace else too, don't do it. There's the thought that depending on how it's used, now if you're referencing somebody, you can do that. So if you take the exact content from one place and put it in another place, and one of the places says this is reference to the original content, which is on blah blah, you can do that. But you may not take the content and put it two places and expect them to both be independent. That will work against you. One or both of those sites could be sanctioned. So don't do that. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Sure. And then Manuel, you had your hand up. Hello, Manuel, you're staring at it. There he is.
Yes, so I was trying to get to the mute button there. So just to finish that last question off, so if I've got my description on my webpage and I copy and paste that to Facebook and I copy and paste that to Instagram and I copy and paste that to LinkedIn, you're saying that's a no-no?
Correct. That is going to really work against you. So
each should have its own iteration of that message.
Wherever you write content, it should be its own new content. If there are some things in there, maybe 2 or 3 sentences, or it depends on how much content there is. But if you had, I don't know, I'm going to go out on a limb and just say 1%, just to keep you safe. If there was 1% that was the same, you could do that. But the idea generally is your content on your site should be completely different than anybody else's content. Excuse me. Now, I can look at other SEO sites and see what content that they've written. Yeah, but mine's nothing like theirs. And it's not. But I would use keywords and I would do a lot of the similar things that they've done. But I've been to some who have made it onto page 1 and gone, I don't know how this site got into page 1, but I guess, okay. If they can do it with that crummy a page, I guess I can do it. And it's kind of it's kind of a good way to look at any time that you're doing the SEO. If you see something that's been done on a page 1 search result site, going, I can do that. Great, then go ahead. I can tell you that the most difficult part about SEO is not learning where to put the keywords or where to put the tags or where to do. You can do that 2 or 3 times and then it's all the same because all those things need to be the same. The hardest part is the content. That's why I spend a lot of time on how to write that content, because get the passion, get a lot of it out there. And I have had many, many people show me their site and go, I just don't understand how I can do it any better than this. I go, well, where's your content? Well, it's right there, 1 sentence. That's never going to fly. The only way that you can get a site like that, as a matter of fact, you can do everything completely against SEO or have no SEO on your site and still get onto page 1. Anybody know how?
Money.
Well, Manuel is going, it's not going to cost you money, yes.
Yeah.
AdWords campaigns. If you do an AdWords campaigns for pretty much anything, it'll work. You'll get onto page 1 and you'll be there for a while. Even after you stop the campaign, you'll be there for a few months. Maybe, could be even a few weeks, just depends on how much Google likes you or not, and you never know. But if you do that, you have to be prepared to spend at least $2,000.
Hmm.
So if you're thinking, okay, forget my SEO and I'll just go pay $2,000 a month to Google. Okay, you could do that. But I don't think that's why any of you are here.
Right. So thank you for that. Now, the other question I have, and I guess this could be content related, is I've done a little digging and I just can't seem to get a straight answer on alt tags, like photos. You know, what's the correct process, or what is it? Is it a sentence that you actually type out, or more of a description of the photo, or how does that work?
That's what I was starting to go into a few minutes ago when I was talking about the alt tags. Don't put your keyword terms. Let me say that differently. Don't put only the keyword tags in your alt tag. The image alt tag was originally designed for the sight impaired. Now, when they use their reader to read the page to them, it'll come down and it'll find where an image should be. So the purpose of that tag is, this is a picture of a boat, whatever. I mean, it could be a page about a boat. And so you want to say this is a specific boat. It could be a Cal 20, whatever it is. And probably you don't know what that is. Doesn't make any difference. That's a very specific sailboat. So if you want to say this is a Cal 20 and then follow it with your keyword, if it makes sense, then that's fine. But make sure that you put in that alt tag what the image is before you add an alt tag. And that was for Brad too. I think you had that same kind of question. So you're not going to write a sentence in there. You're not going to use it only for the alt tag. And that is a huge mistake that a lot of the younger guys do, because they think, oh, well, here's another place I could drop in a keyword. No, it doesn't work like that. Use a keyword in your alt tag only after you have completely described what that image is. And I would keep that description very short. You know, 2 or 3 words should be able to describe that picture. The Andes, because it's a picture of the mountains of the Andes. You didn't have to say when or where, just the Andes. And even the reader for that vision impaired person will be able to see that, oh, it's the Andes. And that person will go, oh, okay, it's a picture of the Andes. Got it. You don't have to go into anything more than that. Barbara, you had your hand up.
Yeah, hi. It was good timing because the previous person I was going to ask about alt tags for pictures, but following up on that, if I have a retail site, so my pictures are, say, of a specific brand linen dress, which is, they're all keywords because it has the brand, it has linen dress, but that is what the picture is. So should I be adding more? Should I be sentencing differently for those
If you've got a
photos?
page that has several images that are going to be similar in description, then stop with each picture and say, this is, would you say lemongrass?
No, linen dress.
Oh, okay. So if it says that's what it is in the picture, and you've got 5 pictures that all have that, then I'm going to stop and go, wait a minute, are they all the same picture?
So like use front view, linen
There you go. There's
dress,
something
side
different.
view,
Something different about each picture.
detail.
Yep. Something different about each picture that's on that page. So you write just a small difference. This is blah, blah, left side. This is blah, blah, right side. This is blah, blah, upside down. So it doesn't, whatever it is, make sure that it really describes that picture.
Okay. Could you even go as far to say girl in, linen dress? Or would that be
Girl in a linen dress, girl holding up a linen dress,
blonde girl in a linen dress?
girl in a linen dress? Yes. You could put it on a dog, say it's the dog in a linen dress. So at least you're describing the picture.
Okay, and would that be the same for a homepage where you have all different pictures, would that be, I don't have a lot of content specifically on a homepage. I have more on individual pages. But actual content on the homepage is more visual, as it is often with retail sites.
Well, a lot of people do that. A lot of retailers do that. Small retailers, they will have a homepage website or a homepage that is all kinds of products. It could be 5 or 10 or 20 different products, and that's okay. Just understand that you're not going to optimize that page. You can do some, which is good because you want to have your title, your description, that sort of thing. But don't worry about, and don't put H1 on each of the areas where you've got a product. The H1 tag is, this is the most important thing on the page. If you do that 5 times, then it says, then the search engines are going, well, which is the most important thing on the page? Because that's what optimization is about, telling you what this page is about and starting with that H1 tag saying, this is what you're going to find on this page. If it's linen dress, and all of a sudden I'm seeing a whole bunch of content and pictures about how to take care of your dog, then it's not about that. And that's what happens with a homepage. So understand that your homepage is not what gets put into the page 1 search results. It's the page that meets all the requirements for SEO. And when you click on, when you've done a search, and any of you have done a search in the search engines, you type in blah, blah, and you're going, okay, well, I'm going to pick one of these 10 because you don't go to the next page. Most people don't. There are maybe 40, 50% of the people who will go to page 2. So you have a maximum of 20. But remember too, if you can hit page 2, now you know you're doing things right with your SEO. So you want to refine it to be able to hit page 1. But don't think of your homepage as the page that's ever going to attain much of anything. When you get those search results, you click on something. If you look, you're not on their homepage. You're on a page in their website. You can get to their homepage. That's not a problem. If you typed in the business's name, then you get the homepage. But that's, what's the point of doing any optimization? If you already know the homepage, then why are you doing a search? So always keep that in mind too. People don't search for your business because they don't know your business. They search keywords. And that's how you get them to find your business. And I've seen several people who want to tell me that they can go to the search engine and type in their business name and see, I'm on page 1. That's not how it works. And then you have to break it down for them and say, all you did was type in your specific business. That's not how people search because they don't know you. So does that help you with your alt tags?
It does. And my last question about that, is there a better way to write the alt tags than others, to use dashes or underscores, or just write it as a sentence? Is there any?
In the alt tag itself, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I might be confused. I thought we covered.
That's a great question. An example would be, there's a red bird in the picture, right? This is a red bird, comma, photography, comma, seeds, comma, whatever your keyword is that you want after it. Do you have a colon that separates the description to the keyword, or do you just leave it all as a run-on sentence?
You leave it. Any kind of markup in there is going to designate that as, I'm actually trying to put my keywords in there. And when you do that, the search engines consider that stuffing. So if you get caught keyword stuffing, that's a no-no. You're not going to make it onto page 1. If you hit page 1, chances are, once it's reviewed, they're going to say, no, get that thing off of there. And that could be the kiss of death. You do things wrong with SEO, whether it's on purpose or by accident. that can end up pushing you back to page 400 in the search engines. So once you get that far back, it's extremely difficult to bring it back into reality. So when you're writing, let's go back to your linen dress example. Woman, what's your keyword phrase?
Am I still on? Yeah. My keyword phrase would be Inizio magic 2-pocket linen dress.
That's a mouthful.
And I do come up on page 1
Okay,
for that, but I'm trying to relate. I mean, I'm trying.
run that by me again.
Inizio, INIZIO. You can just try linen dress or magic linen dress.
What's the name of your site?
Get Dressed Collective.
And why are you in this class? Okay, let me do this first of all. Where did we just go? Okay.
I'm in this class because whatever I've done in the things that I have on page 1, I can't seem to necessarily replicate with other things.
So you're trying to replicate, gotcha.
You know, I'm really trying to dial in.
Okay,
I'm really in the more dial in stage.
can everybody see this search page? In fact, I'll go to Google. I have no,
It's
interesting. Do you see
it's
that they're
Z.
trying to say it may not be spelled that way?
It's spelled with a Z.
Oh,
Did you mean? Yes, that's what you
yes,
meant.
I did. And I have, first person that tells me, why wouldn't I know that? Go, well, when's the last time you went looking for a dress?
Come on, you need your summer dress.
Yeah. So, okay, that is excellent. However, there's a couple of things about this. First of all, good job getting to page 1. Now, it looks like there are not very many people searching it because there are 104,000 results in Google. So would it be true or false that you're not getting a lot of traffic?
No, I get a lot of traffic.
What's your traffic? Monthly or daily, either one,
For this specifically,
for your website? Do you have statistics where you can look at how many times per month or day or hour anybody comes to your site?
yeah, I think I haven't looked at it in a bit, but I think it depends on the season, but its average is probably, I don't know, 5 to 10,000.
A month?
Yeah,
That's very good.
but it's very specific.
It is, and I'll tell you why I'm asking these questions so the group understands. 104,000 results. Now, some people might think that's a lot. If you're under, say, 20 million, that's not very much compared to what most searches are. So I'm not even seeing 1 million results. That's 104,000. That's actually to get that traffic and what you've done with that particular page. That's excellent because you're on page 1. You can't do any better than that. And it's an industry, obviously, that does not have very many people in competition. Now, you might want to argue that, but I'm telling you.
It's particular to the brand name too. Now, I certainly wouldn't rank if we just put in linen dress.
You're right. But because you have this and you're getting the right traffic, and that's the other thing too, you want to know that your traffic is qualified. Do you have, judging on the answer that you just had about your traffic, you've got analytics in your page, is that true? Google Analytics?
I do.
Not according to this.
No, I haven't.
You see there's, right here,
Mhm.
there's no code in there.
Well, I have it though. I mean, I can open it up and
Wow, that's a long page.
I mean, I don't want to hang on this and tie you up from moving on with.
Well, all of this has to do with what you can or cannot do and what's going on with your site. What I'm looking for is the scripts at the bottom of the page that may have, the Google Analytic code may have been pushed down there. There's a tremendous amount of code at the bottom, but I don't see the Google code. Wow, that's a lot of, I didn't look at the top. How did you build the site?
I had a developer build it.
Okay,
So yeah, I don't, you have me at a disadvantage when you're looking through code.
yeah, when you're talking to a geek, you're kind of going, well, you're out of my league, pal. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
Somewhere, I'm not seeing it right offhand, and like you said, I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time, but I'm not
Yeah.
seeing the code should be right here that I've got highlighted, and it's not here.
Okay.
So somehow it's somewhere that it's not being, it's not reviewed. Next time you look at your statistics, make sure that it's showing you from that specific date. If you look at your statistics and it's sometime in the past was the last time anything showed, anything updated, then you know that it's because that your analytic code is not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I look at it several times a week and it's
Okay.
always current. So I don't know where it would be.
It's
But
someplace.
It's certainly something I'll ask my developer just so
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it should actually be up here. That's where Google is telling you where they want it to. But it's
Okay.
also easier to find it just to make sure that you've got it.
Okay.
But as far as that goes, everybody who's looking at this is a typical retail site because it has very little content, and that's fine because you're not going to expect that it will get to page one. But because it is exactly what people are searching, and because people go there and they spend time. If you look at your bounce rate, I bet you it's pretty low, which means people go and they stay on that page for a while trying to figure out what they want to do. That information goes into Google and they go, well, it may not be well optimized, but people go for that. They search that specific thing. They went to that page and they spent a lot of time, 2 or 3 minutes at least. If it's more than 10 seconds, Google really doesn't care. But if they're on the page for a couple of minutes, Google says, well, then they actually found what they wanted. So that page must be better than what the optimization says. That can get you onto page one without you having to do a whole lot. Now, did I answer your questions?
Yes.
Okay. I'll go to Brennan. What's your question? You've been waiting a while, sorry.
Hi, I just had a question about best practices for naming photos. Like, is there a particular type that we should upload? Does the name, like, Should they just be image one, or should they have a descriptor in it?
As far as the image name itself, what's on there to be able to upload it into the server, it doesn't really mean a hill of beans. The alt tag is where you want to have that information.
Okay.
It could be image one, that's fine if that's what you want to do. It could help just a little bit if it had more of a description on there, but then it gets into a long name on the file. So yeah, I wouldn't worry so much about that. As long
Okay.
as the alt tag is used properly, then you can name your images whatever they want.
That's good to know. I just wasn't sure.
It's anytime that you're getting into any kind of specifics, I think that's good because you're paying more attention to your SEO.
Thank you.
You betcha. Donna, you had your hand up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, my question is, whereas Barbara is an e-commerce site, I'm an artist, a digital designer, and so I am wondering, how do I create an outline for each page in my site so that I'm talking about my services? Yes. Like
You
I
wanna
want,
create
I
an-
have all this, how do I put it all, how do I organize it and put it on the pages to describe what I do?
Well, I could go a couple of different directions here, so I want to quantify what you're asking. You want a page to have some information about what other pages are in your site? Is that what you mean?
Well, for example, if I have my home page and I have an about page and then I have a hierarchy of different examples of like what I made in Photoshop or Illustrator or user interface design. I wonder how to, and then, a contact page, maybe a blog on there. How do I write content for such a site where, like, I feel like I can write for other people, but when it comes to organizing and describing myself, I hit roadblocks in that area. So I wonder, how do I create an outline to describe my services and organize my content by page?
For yourself to organize all of your pages, and this would be true for anybody, whether it's working on your website or working on a project. Wireframe, remember that, write that down.
Yes.
Wireframe. So if everybody's got that written down, what that means is you could write it down on a napkin, a piece of paper and pencil, however you want to make your wireframe. You're going to say, I want this page to look like this, and I want the navigation to be here. I want this over on there. That's what a wireframe is. It's outlining how you're going to set up the site. But that's before you apply anything to your pages in the website itself. So I believe that you're asking for a specific page, and I'm going to say that you want to have that on your home page. Is that correct?
Well, now I know how to do wireframes and prototypes, but after the design of what's going to go where, and before the images are selected, like the words to describe each the services, I'm not making sense because I don't know how to organize the content. Like what should be on each page if I'm offering services?
Let me start from scratch here. If you're on a home page and you have specific areas that you want people to go, that's what you would put on. So let's just say I want people to go here. Now, I can do this easily because I use Joomla. And before anybody jumps in with WordPress is so much better, let me back up and say I design in either WordPress or Joomla. But if you ask me which one's better, I'm going to tell you Joomla, and I can go all day on why. So if you're using WordPress, someone has told you that WordPress is much easier to use. It's not true, but that's fine if you're using WordPress. there are a lot of caveats to using WordPress. The first one of which is extremely important right now because Google has mandated that all sites need to have a fast page. All of the pages need to be as fast as possible for mobile devices. That means that if you're running somewhere around 30% out of 100, you're not going to get to page 1. And Google doesn't like that. So you need your pages to load fast. So what does that mean to you?
Image optimization.
Well, it's not just image optimization. This is going back to the other question about what kind of images to use. Brennan, I didn't tell you, but WebP, W-E-B-P images. So instead of a JPG or a PNG, W-E-B-P. And if you're using a decent photo manipulation software, it doesn't have to be expensive. And I always recommend the free one, which is paint.net. It does everything that Illustrator or anything else can do. So just don't get me started on that one. WebP is, I'll go back a little further. Images can only display 72 dots per inch. And a lot of you are going, why do I need to know this? Every image has dots per inch. The more dots per inch, the more beauty that we see, the clearer that we see, the more we look at that picture and go, that is a nice picture. The fewer dots per inch that we see going, yeah, it's a little grainy. Okay, you can take a 300 DPI, which is what companies mandate if you're sending it to like a printer and say, I want this beautiful picture put on my business card or make a banner or whatever it is. They say you need to give us a minimum of 300 DPI. You can't display 300 DPI on the internet. I don't know how many of you know that, but the highest that you can show because of the internet is 72 DPI. Now for photographers, there is software that you can use, install in your site. It gets really technical. It's possible, it's not normal. And to make it possible, you're going to have to go through a lot of steps. The bottom line is 72 DPI. So WebP will give you that image. It'll look exactly as nice as a JPG, a PNG, or anything else. But it has been compressed, so it has less information in the picture. So it loads faster than any other extension, than any other format of an image. So Brennan, you can name it whatever you want. Make sure it's a WebP so it loads faster. Now, that brings us to this particular page. There's two things. One, you can have a couple of pages on this site which are portions. So then if you want to read the full article, you click on that and you now have the full article. Donna, that's part of your situation, but you could also, if you wanted to just make the home page text and have a link to each of the sections, name your section and give it a paragraph or two saying this section is about blah, 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 and a link. You can do that to get to all of the other pages in your site. The part about design is that you have to think about it. And for a developer, that means sitting back and going, well, I could do this and this, and I know it would look like that. For you, if you're not a developer and you haven't ever created a site, it's not that easy to try to envision it in your own head. So you have to try several things. You might do what I'm suggesting by having a couple of paragraphs and a link, maybe even an image. And after you do 2 or 3 of them like that, you go, well, I don't like the look of that page. Guess what? That's what a developer would come up against too. Because developers go, well, let me try this to see what it looks like when I do that. and you get part of it done just to give you an idea, and you go, yeah, I don't like it. Do something different. Okay. With Joomla, I can have as many portions of articles on this page as I want. So it just keeps filling down in a 2-column thing, and I can cut it off wherever I want it. I cut off these where you see them, but you can cut it off right under the first paragraph if you want. And that read more takes you to that page. Does that make sense, Donna?
Yes. But I guess, well, on the website that I'm developing for me, my donnazoll.com site, you know, I wonder how to communicate. What do I need to? I wonder how to write the content to communicate to my services.
Well, before you get to the content, you want to have your overall design created. So in other words, oh, look at that. It's 12 after. Anybody who needs to or can't stay longer, you're free to take off if you want to. I am recording this, so it will be post your leaving. But if you want to stay, that's fine. Like I said, I have never had a meeting go less than 2 hours. Get the technical side of it done first. So you're getting the format of the entire template done. So this goes here, this goes there. And part of what you're saying, which I keep hearing, is your menu. If you look up at the top of this page, I'm sure you can all still see this page I'm showing you. You don't have to tell anybody anything. You got the home page, SEO specialist, so I can go read about the specialist there. Web design, I can go to there. What's this arrow that's underneath? Oh, it's a classroom. Oh, look at that. When you're creating a website, gone are the days of having to tell somebody all the different pages that are in your website. If your menu is created properly, and that's a good part of the wireframe, making sure that your menu, what kind of menu you're going to use, what are you going to have in the top menu, what are you going to have in the parts that come down from the menu, all of that should be in your wireframe so that you can figure out what you want to do and how you're going to arrange things. Does that make sense, Donna?
Yes, and see, because I would create like a somewhat of a sitemap.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. Chart. That was the first thing that came to my mind, but I would warn against that. It doesn't hurt you in SEO, but it just doesn't look very good. You can put a well, somewhere in your site, you can have a list of all the pages that are in your site.
Oh, I mean in the design process. Because like in the design process, the first thing I would want to do is like list out everything that I want to have on the site and then organize it.
Yes, that's your wireframe.
And then create my wireframe.
That's all part of your wireframe. So the sitemap you can have on your site, but it's usually not on the home page or on the first page that people come to. And you're not going to try to optimize that sitemap page. So if you want to do that, and for any site that's more than say 2 or 3 pages, it's a good idea somewhere to have a sitemap because it helps the search engines. The bot comes in and goes, oh, you got these pages, bam, I go right there. So it knows everything that you've got. It doesn't have to try to hunt. So you don't, a lot of times people will bury, they'll make pages, but it's not part of the menu. And there are links to get to those pages within another page. In those instances, that's when you want to have a sitemap somewhere. But generally speaking, the sitemap in your site, someplace like on that's part of the contact page. Let's say that this would be the sitemap instead of login. That's a good place to put it. But the other part of this whole thing is don't be afraid to just make the site and have a good navigation menu. Mystery meat navigation means that here's page 1, here's page 2, but you have no idea what's on any of them. Well, this one's pretty obvious, bid my project. Okay, so you can fill out the form and bid the project. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out, web design. So I can go here and find out about web design. And that's what you want to do with your navigation. Make sure that it is easily understood. When you click on it, this is what you're going to find. I didn't have to make a whole bunch of information about forum. Here's a forum. If you don't know what a forum is, then you can go research and figure out what a forum is. But people know what's on, what the menu is when they're reading stuff. And if they don't, they click on it just because they're already engaged with your site going, I kind of like to look, well, what's this for? What's that for? So don't be afraid to do that. It doesn't have to be hidden. You don't have to purposely make it confusing on your menu. But I would not recommend putting a sitemap on your homepage to get people around. You could do
Oh,
something.
no. I didn't mean to put it on the home page at all. I mean, for example, even if I was using a program like PowerPoint to make a hierarchy chart, that's like a sitemap. So, you know, using a hierarchy chart to organize the content so I know what do I need and where do I need it.
That all comes down to what works for you. And I know for me, and if you're just trying to keep it simple, you can just, you know, like I said, when I started talking about wireframe, you can just take a napkin and start writing things down and make arrows. I want this over here and that there, and have several napkins. But you use whatever software or paper or whatever you want to create that wireframe so that you have the entire site laid out. And does that mean you can't make changes? No, you make changes as you want. Because you might decide, well, I'm at this point, but I don't really like that there. So I want to change that. Okay, great. So do that. Find a way. And like I said in the beginning too, that you could make something like this page where you just have a paragraph and or a picture with a link to the various pages. And that would be your sitemap. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I hope, MJ, thank you. Julie, thank you. Linda. Are you still with us, Linda? Apparently not. Sorry, didn't get to her before she took off. Average bytes per page. Amit, are you still with us? Let me talk to Brennan for a minute. Brennan,
Yes, sir.
get out of Wix.
Yes, sir.
Get out of Wix. You're laughing, but I'm very serious.
I know. You're using Joomla. I use that at
No,
a
no.
previous company and
No.
I couldn't stand it.
You can use whatever you want. Get out of Wix.
Why?
Thank you. Because the SEO won't work.
They were criticized really heavily for years. Supposedly, they've made a lot of changes in the last year or two.
Yeah,
That's what I've heard.
yeah.
But I will defer to the experts. So
Now, is this true for any CRM type of website or content management?
CMS, content management system,
Yes, sorry.
WordPress or Joomla. Those are your two. And the reason is you want your website independent. If you are, and for anybody who is wondering what I'm saying, Joomla, Joomla. And it's another content management system that is competitive to WordPress.
We called it Mambo back in the day.
Exactly. I started using it when it was Mambo. It was Mambo for a year and then they switched. That was 2004. So anyway, and I started using WordPress right after. right around the same time. So it's not like I don't know WordPress. Because I know both, I'm always pulling my hair out going, I don't get why people are using WordPress instead of Joomla. And it's all a matter of where did you first learn? How much did you, when you get into Joomla, it is so much different than WordPress that people are kind of scared off. They're intimidated by Joomla, but you shouldn't be. If you just get in there and start playing around, you'll go, this is really nice because you don't have to install 50 plugins. All of your SEO can be done with the default Joomla. All of your SEO in WordPress requires plugins, at least Yoast. So if you are trying to do your SEO, yeah, Joomla is going to have it hands down, but it's a matter of desire or opinion or whatever. So you can do whichever that you want. It doesn't make any difference. I'm talking about Joomla because if you're just starting and you haven't done either one of them, I highly recommend that you at least use Joomla for a couple of days just to kind of get around and see what it can do. But again, the plugin parts, so much of WordPress requires you, well, I need a plugin to do this. Well, I need a plugin to do that. And a lot of it comes back to the themes. The themes for WordPress, you can only touch certain parts of it. I don't like that. In Joomla, you go in and do whatever you want to, whatever you want. You can get to it. It may not necessarily be a simple way because they don't want you to mess around with all the stuff, but you can if you want. So if you turn something upside down, you better know how to turn it right side up. So Wix, I'll go back to Wix. There's been talk possibly, but here's the issue with, it's not just Wix, because it's any place that you develop a website using software that allows you to develop that website. So in other words, if you go into a site like Wix and use their software to develop your website, you're now behind what I call a gated community. So the bot has to go in to Wix, find your site, get the information that it needs as far as any SEO, and then come out. Google has specifically stated that it takes so long for their bots to go in there as compared to an independent site that they really don't care about going into Wix. So if it goes there, it's like, yeah, well, whatever. But because it's behind that gated community, the chances of you ever getting into a page one position are slim and none. Now, if somebody gets it done, kudos to you. But it's a real big battle. And it's true for GoDaddy's, I'm trying to think of what the name of it is, but they have software where you can build your own site. So it's Shopify, Wix, GoDaddy, there's a whole list of them. And they all say, build your site with ours inside of our site, create your account. You build it for free. Well, it isn't for free because they charge you what, 20, 30 bucks a month or something. If you have an independent site, the charge that you pay for hosting is anywhere from $8 to $10 a month. That's it. Your developer, if you hire a developer, is extra. That's on top of that. But would you rather pay Wix $20 or $30 a month? I don't know what their fees are, but pay them that extra money and know that you can't do your SEO, or be independent, knowing that it's all depending on what you do to the SEO to either get your site to page one or not. So that's up to you. My suggestion is always get out of Wix, get out of Google's, or get out of GoDaddy's, build your own site, get out of Shopify's, build your own site. You can use the shopping cart they have, but any of them, I think even Amazon has one. It just don't build your site inside of another website. And that's exactly what you're doing with Wix.
So that goes the same for, say, like the photography sites that allow you to build them in there, like Pixie Set or there's quite a few in there. I can't remember the other ones, but they're in building it. There's specific areas that are dedicated to SEO building per page and per the site.
My answer to that is I don't know that specific site, but good luck. Because if it's not an independent site, the bots don't like going anyplace else. Because Google can send their bots out and hit an independent site, bam, and out. If it's a site that's built inside of another website, that bot has to spend a lot more time to get in there. And that's where Google's drawing the line now, saying, we're not going to do it. Now, if Wix has figured out some way that their whole website gets out of the way to allow the bots directly into the sites inside of them, okay, but as a technician, I don't understand how that would be possible. It may be faster than it used to be, but it's still not done. So
is there a way for us to test this?
To test the SEO?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the only way to test it is to do all the SEO, go through all the hieroglyphics and jump through all the hoops, and then hope that you get to page one. If you've done everything right, you compared your site to a competitor who is on page one, SERP, that search engine results position. So if you found somebody else that's on page one and you compared your SEO to theirs and yours is better, if it gets on to page one, okay, but I kind of doubt it. I mean, I don't know of one. I've had a lot of people say that they've done their SEO, they're in Wix, and of course, as soon as I hear the word Wix or Shopify or one of those sites, I go, well, there's your answer right there. That's why you're not on page one. If you want it, at the best test, like I said, it would be time consuming, so it's kind of like a waste of your time. Do all your SEO and then test it to see where you are. And if your SEO is better than the page one search results that you found that are competition to you, then the thing to do is to start going page by page to see where your site lies. And if you're back 10 pages, well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. If you got onto page one, okay, tell me how you did it. Because I'll tell everybody else, go, well, this person did blah, 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 and they got onto page one. The only way that I know to do that is to pay Google for the AdWords campaign. Pretty much anything that you do, if it's all wrong, but you pay Google, okay, they'll put you on page one. It'll cost you about $2,000 a month or more. Just depends on the search term. Anybody have any other questions on that specific thing? Because I know that it grates on everybody who's using those sites and they just go, you can't be right. I'm not going to listen to that. Okay. I said it, I won't argue, do what you like. But be prepared that all of your work may not provide what you want. Linda, my Spectrum School, Port Washington, New York. Please check out my website. Linda, what are we looking for on your website? Bunch of happy kids, is that what we're looking for? And Linda doesn't have her speaker working, so she's typing. Microphone does not work. Gotcha. What are we checking here? Because Chrome does have this feature that certainly is good. Let's see what we can find out for Linda. Now, anybody who has watched still with us, this is something that anybody can do on Chrome. It's called Website Checker, and it will show you all of the SEO information that you need to know. So for Linda, this particular page, they don't like the description. It's way too long. Here's the description. Yes, that's way too long. Between 35 and 65 characters, like you see right here. Sorry, that's the title. The title's too long. The description is also too long. Between 70 and 320, and you've got 463. So far, I hope that you see that. And you betcha, Manuel. Okay, we'll get into more things as we go. And Linda is looking for more SEO information. As far as that goes, external links. So you're sending people to Facebook, Pinterest. There's a way to use the links, Linda, that you put in REL no follow. If you've got a developer, tell them to put those in for your Facebook and Pinterest and stuff. You want the people to follow it, but you don't necessarily want the search engines to follow. I mean, if you did all the other SEO, it might not hurt, but just to be safe, I would. But the biggest thing that before I even see, so this was a site that you had somebody develop for you. And I lost my, okay, so one thing I wanted to see was page speed, because this does. Wow, that's impressive. I am impressed. Linda, who are you using for as a developer? Larissa, thank you for joining. Your son. So is your son doing this for a living? You're welcome, Donna. So, okay, he does this for a living. I was going to say the only way that anybody would be able to get 95 on this particular page would be if you did do it for a living. That's an interesting scroller. Oh, that shouldn't have happened. So Linda, I don't know if you saw that, but as I was scrolling that whole where you have this did it again. That shouldn't happen. So he's done a very good job with the speed. And so everybody understands what I'm looking at on this particular site. This page should load slower than a 10-year itch because of all the sizes of the pictures. It's got a lot of pictures in this slider that are huge. And if he wants to actually increase the speed, make those images the size of the slider, size of the largest slider. So for a desktop, well, it did it there without my touching anything. So there's a problem with the slider that he's created. Let him know that. And at any rate, with any page, with any website that you've got a lot of images, images slow you down. Every image, it doesn't matter what kind, even a WebP. So I'm looking at images now, and that one is a 200. Okay, so I get that. He's done a good job with a lot of things on here, but something's wrong with the way that he coded this thing. What other things can I help you as far as SEO? We got the page speed, and you want to know more. In your Linda, do you have Chrome? When you can get it, it's free. Okay, so go to Google and type in website SEO checker, and then download that. It's a program just for Chrome, and you can install that. It's just a couple of seconds, and it will tell you as much as I just found, and it will give you a full report if you wanted to view the full report. So you can study that, and you personally would probably have no idea what it's talking about. So give it to your son, or have your son use the same thing. But 95. Now I can tell you that the page that I have, still working on the SEO on this particular page, but the first thing that was important to me on this page was the speed. And I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, well, it doesn't have a whole bunch of pictures. You're absolutely right. That's why I have a 99% page speed. If everybody can see the colors that are in the background, that is actually a type of an image. It's called an SVG image. Brennan, you'd probably be the only person left in the group that knows what I'm talking about, but an SVG of that size should take forever to load. The way that I put it in there, it loads extremely fast. And the only reason that I don't get 100% for this particular page is because of this little bitty tiny image, and it's a WebP image. So I got 1% off of page speed because I have that. So Google can be that picky. At any rate, images will slow down your site. When you're using WordPress, WordPress without images is already slow. So every image that you add to the site is going to slow it down more. Are there ways to make WordPress fast? Yes. It requires a technician. So if you're using WordPress, you'd be lucky if you've got a technician who knows what they're doing with WordPress. They will install some specific software that will get that thing working fast. Now, you can't just put any size image in there and expect it to be fast. You have to be careful. Say, I'm not going to put a whole bunch of images. Just put some in there so you can do it the way you want. Make it look the way you want. But you can get it as fast as this page is. So the idea is to, in general, for these days, because Google has mandated, if your page is not fast, and I believe that their numbers were showing, I think it's 90% or higher is considered fast. If it's under that 90%, yeah, 90%, it's green, that means that you're in an okay speed test for mobile devices. We really don't care about desktop anymore. Google doesn't. And that's how I knew that it was that image. Desktop and mobile on this particular page is the same because of that one little tiny image. But with WordPress, you're going to have to do a lot more work in order to get that kind of speed. And that means for WordPress users that if you've got a WordPress site that's under 90%, you're not going to attain that page 1 position. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't make any difference what you do with your SEO. If that page is slow, it's not going to get to page 1. So let's go back over to chat. Who's got a question here? No. Marilyn, you can add content or change the content anytime that you want. You just need to make sure that when you do it, you have to update your SEO so that you don't lose your position. And yeah, they do like to see, Google likes to see movement on the pages. That's true. So if you've got content and you've got something like I've got right here, Joomla does this by default. So every time I update this particular page, it changes the date. You see that one was done on the 28th, this one was done on the 27th. So you want to, how often do you want to update it? It's really up to you. If it were me and I was thinking this page is doing really well, it's on page 1, but I want to keep the content updated, add to the content that you've already got. That way, you know that you haven't disturbed what content was already there. And let's see. John was looking for that same question. Did you get your question answered, John? I'm not sure that he heard me. John, you were looking, oh, okay, great. Thank you. Brennan, you're back in the queue.
Question, Wix aside, how to best
Sorry, I wasn't
structure,
picking on you. I was actually just, it was actually just a warning to you so that you know, don't put all your eggs into Wix.
How to best structure website, your page title tags?
What do you mean how to best structure?
I know you can't keyword stuff them, but should you start off with like the name of the website and then keywords about that particular page, or is it supposed to be a short description of what that page is?
Technically, the title should be about that page, yes. So if my page were about sofas and rocking chairs, then my title has nothing to do with this page. So each page will have its own title, and it should be relevant, highly relevant to the content that's on the page. In this instance, SEO specialist is on there, web design is on there. Did I put web design? I put web developer in my title because I'm not that concerned about web design. I am and I'm not. It's kind of a, yeah, I'd rather put more weight in my mind on SEO specialist than web design, because web developers are like a dime a dozen. You can throw a tiny little pebble and hit 10. They're all over the place. Are any of them any good? That's a different question. The idea is that your title should be specific to what's on the page. You don't need your company name in there at all if you don't want it to be. You don't need the name of the website in there. Mine's just T.A. Garrison, just me. It should be and contain what's on the page, which in general would mean, if not your full keyword terms or full keyword term, at least one of them that you're targeting, then a portion of it. It all depends on how relevant this page is to a keyword term. So does that make sense so far, Brennan?
Yes.
The more, let me go to this page. You can see my title changes. Now it's a little short because, like I said, I'm still working on this site and the SEO for this site. That's why it's not in my website itself. So the title needs to be longer. As far as I was concerned, when I was just creating the page, I just threw a title in there because I wanted to write some content. Then I'm going back. The way that I work with pretty much anything, I get functionality first. The technical stuff out of the way, get the functions, get the pages laid out the way that I want them, the design, the trickery, like with this text, see how it follows and it looks like it's got something going on behind it, which it does. It's all done with CSS, which is why I got so much page speed, even for a mobile device. there really are no images in this page per se, even though that purple, gray, and pink, that's all an image. But because of I used code to display that SVG, it's considered not an image. And it's part of the background, so it loads extremely fast, even for a mobile device. So the whole thing is relevance. Is your title relevant to this page?
And should I include like city names or locations to try and target my service area?
Give me an example, because there's yes and no to that question.
So I do home inspection. So it say something like, buyer's home inspection in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay, if that page is just Boston, then yeah, the title should have it. You could use that title that you just rattled off, actually.
Now, if I want to, it's not just Boston, it's a whole northeast region of New England.
Well, then you have a difference of a title, because it wouldn't be just for Boston. So it would be, I'm doing this service in Massachusetts, in northern Massachusetts, or in somehow you're going to, I don't know what they use in Massachusetts, whether it's counties or I know like in New Orleans, they'll use parishes. So
Yeah.
you want to say in this area. So that way it does define where you're doing this work, and that title is highly relevant to your content. And if you do it like I have already done with this page, my relevance is going to come after I've created the page, because I know that stuff changes as you're creating the page. So to begin this page, okay, we'll just start with SEO specialist, but that's going to change somewhat. As long as it's highly relevant, I want it a little bit longer, and I want to make sure that it stays highly relevant to the page. So it will change a bit, which means that I'm going to address that after I finish the page. You would do the same thing, but in general, yeah, you're going to say it's in this particular area of Massachusetts. That's where I'm doing this particular work.
Okay, that's good to know. Mine were a mess. Some of them just had, the name of the company and then one word. So I laid them all out on a Word doc so I can actually formulate them all to be follow the same formula.
Make sure too, and while you're doing that, make sure that you use the keyword planner to look and see how many people are searching those terms that you're using. Because if nobody's searching those terms, you can throw all that out and start over. But don't use a term that somebody else used just because they used it. Do the verification, use a keyword planner and go, okay, 10 people are searching that term, so we're gonna have to find something new. And you may have to go back to the owner of the site and say, listen, that's not a good term. There's only 10 people searching. So what else can we use? And when you do a search in the keyword planner, it will show you alternatives. So it'll be suggestions. When you do the keyword planner, you're probably familiar with it, are you not?
Keyword planner?
Yes.
I am not.
Okay. Let's do this. This is the one right here. And you need to be logged in order to use it. But in my, I was at the beginning of this meeting today, I think it's the second or third weekly post. There's a link that'll take you directly to the keyword ads. And it'll be on this page is where you want to start. Don't touch, you just ignore everything else, go right to the start now. And you're going to do keywords. Come on. I don't want my campaigns. Well, the insights. I think I hear. There we go. That's it. Come on. I think I hear Arthur in the background somewhere. Anyway, you're coming in here. I don't know why Google is not wanting me to go to keywords, but the link. Well, I think if you hadn't gone to add groups, ads, interesting enough, when I usually go here, it takes me right to where I want to be. And Google likes to change stuff.
Hey, Thomas, is it under tools and settings at the top? There's keyword, yeah, keyword planner on the left.
And it's funny that start button used to take you right here. So like I say, Google likes to change stuff. So who knows? All right, so you're here at the keyword planner. Give me a term that you have that you've used, Brennan.
Real estate transaction.
Okay, this is exactly what you will see when you're using the planner. Yours is the one that you searched is at the top, and it shows you that the average monthly searches is between 100 and 1,000. And the competition is low. Just read across the columns, and it shows you competition and everything else. And if you're going to do an AdWords campaign, it shows you what the low bid and the high bid are for that particular term. And that's per click. So you pay at the low side $1.63 every time somebody clicks on your ad. And using this does not mean that you're committed to running an ad. All you're doing with the keyword planner is searching keywords. It's
But just a way for me to test certain words to see which ones performs better than another. If
Yes.
100 to 1,000 people are looking for it, that's not a good term.
No, unless you, going back to the beginning of our meeting today, if you've got, let's just say you were in Boston only, I would still expect there to be more. Well, no, I take that back, because in Boston downtown, there's nobody living down there. There's just, it's all businesses. Any place outside, don't they all have their own area?
Yeah.
Trying to think of one offhand. I was back
For me, putting in Boston would be too limiting. You know, I have a territory that spans 50 miles north and south, up into New Hampshire and down almost to Rhode Island.
Well, then what you would do, So add New Hampshire and then get the results. And you'll see what you get for that. So forget it. I mean, that's that fast. You can say it's a terrible keyword phrase. So never mind. And both of them, the real estate transaction alone, it wasn't definitive of any particular area. So you go back, and I'm assuming that you're doing this for somebody, correct?
It's for my own company.
Okay, so for your own company, go back to yourself and say, what are people searching? Because they're not searching those two terms. Let's go back.
It's probably home inspectors near me. Would be my guess.
Okay. I'll bet you're probably right. Let's just do that first. Home inspectors. Well, that's better. And now you can look down below and see, okay, home inspections near me, same number. Name is home inspector. Do you see that? So you don't have to search each one of the phrases. You go down the list and look to see what they have done or what things people are searching. So at 10 to 100,000 is what you're seeing. Are you doing termite inspections?
Yeah.
So then you would write that down as another keyword term that you would use. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because in the same page, you could use both of those terms. I don't recommend using 3 or 4 keyword terms, but if you want to use 2, that's not bad. But all the rest of them are maxed out at 1,000. So
That's
then
not
you
very
can
high.
No, it's not. But if you figure 1% of that 100,000, okay, you could survive on 1,000 people coming to your site a month. I mean, that's that one page. Excuse me. Do you have other pages that are doing other things?
No, it's pretty specific to that. You know, you have different pages for someone who's trying to get an inspection when they're buying a house. Then there's another page for someone who's getting one if they're selling a house. There's pages about someone waiving the inspection.
You see what I'm doing now? I already know it's a house inspection, so I'm playing around with using home sale inspection, and it looks like they're saying pre-sale home inspection is 100 to 1,000. So that's worse than what we already found. But you get where I'm going. I think that you just start trying, and when you see something that's possible, that 10,000 to 100,000, those two terms, write those down so you don't forget them, and then keep searching to see if you can find something that's even better. And I know what you're doing. It's for people who are buying a house. They've got to get the inspection. And I'm sure that there's more homes than 10 to 100,000 a month. So I would think there'd be a lot more people searching, but maybe not. Well, actually, yes, I would expect that, because now that I think about it, we're not talking about a specific area. So 10,000 to 100,000 people a month are searching that specific term, but there's another term, or there are other terms, plural, that people are using to find the exact same information. What are they? That's why you use Google, the keyword planner, because you're trying to figure out what are they searching? Because I know it's a house inspection that they want. Yes, but you got to get out of your head and think, maybe they're searching something that means exactly the same. It's obvious that it means exactly the same, but it is not anywhere near what you're typing in to search. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does.
And that's why that's why the keyword planner is so important, because you really need to figure out what are people searching to find what I'm doing. And when you find something that's got the mother lode, I would say, especially in the last year, there have to be millions of people looking for inspections. because all the houses that sold during the last year. So
They're all waiving the inspections.
I was thinking it, I didn't want to say it. I know that. And I have relatives who actually did the same thing. And that was the biggest mistake. They should never have waived that inspection. Now they're in a place that they've got to dump a bunch of money into. There was work done in the house, stuff that was built, never had a permit. So it's like,
Oh, yeah, I see it all the time.
they don't have a choice. The only thing they can do is spend the next year rebuilding the house. So you don't have time to spend the next year waiting to get people to come. You need to find those terms now. And in order to do that, you want to get in there and do some search. I would bet that the money that you're spending on Wix, because you know that you can't take anything away from Wix, right? Okay. So I would bet that the money that you're spending on Wix would be greatly reduced by going independent. If you want to
Yeah,
connect with me to go over a way to be able to do that, I can show you how to save your stuff without telling Wix a darn thing. You can literally move that site. It's not difficult. It's just a little bit technical, time consuming.
You mean
But you
to-
could have it done in a day.
to move the design over to something else?
You would take the content and your images, and you can take screenshots to show the layout, but you're going to have to recreate that template somehow. WordPress or Joomla, doesn't make any difference. They both need a template. You have to know how to lay it out. So you could find a template that is very close to what you have. Maybe a free template or something like that. You can look at templates for either one of those at WordPress if that's what you want to do. See if the template is close to the design that you have, or it's not close to the design, but you like the design of what you found. And that's fine, because if you, people talk about hosting, I won't talk about anybody other than A2. So you can say that this company is great, and usually that's because they only charge $2 a month. Yes, and their hardware is terrible, which means there's downtime a lot. You're trying to do stuff and you have errors, or just don't mess with those $2 a month. Don't even mess with a $5 a month company. A2 gives you a price break if you pay by the year, and it could work out to less than $5 a month. But they want that full payment, a year of payment. What was that?
You said A2?
A2hosting.com. They're a great company. They have excellent hardware. I've been with them for years. Somewhere in our group, I think I had a link. Maybe in a weekly post. I have to rethink that. But if you want me to send you something, I can do that too. But they have all kinds of plans. Depends on what you want to be, or you just want to be a simple shared hosting plan. That's simple. And you'll be up within a matter of an hour after you create everything, maybe 2 hours. They'll send you all the details. Here's how you get to this. Here's how you do that. Here's all of your information. Here's your account information, blah, blah, blah. Literally, you can have the site up within 3 hours after you purchase the account. It may take, they always tell you it takes 24 hours for the site to propagate, but because their servers are so good, usually in a couple of hours, the site's ready to go, which is unheard of. Any other hosting company, usually you wait a day, sometimes two, before the site is ready to go. So
I think with Wix, I think the domains are all managed through Google. When I purchased my domain, because I have to move that over to a new hosting company.
Right.
Which they'll let you do. Which I would probably lose, the Wix site would go down after I transferred it over. So I would be left with nothing, so.
Well, the work that I was talking about before about slightly technical, taking your information or taking all the content, screenshots, and images, that's done before you tell Wix anything. Don't tell them anything at all. And then all you need to do is go in and, did you register the domain with Google, or that's just who Wix tells you they need to handle it?
I think it's registered with them.
Okay. Let me see.
This sort of stuff is so outside of my,
Purview, yeah,
Yeah,
I get
it's-
that.
I probably know enough to be dangerous and cause lots of headaches for myself, but not enough to fix any of it.
What's the domain name?
Firstlookhi.com.
It's showing Wix. Network Solutions.
Oh, it's them.
Yeah. Not great either. They never were. They've been around forever, but I've never liked them. It's kind of like GoDaddy. They've been around forever, but they're a pain in the rear.
It's funny. The previous company I worked for used Network Solutions.
Yeah, I've never really been happy with that. John had to go. Meredith, write a blog with the pros and cons considerations of waiving an inspection.
That's already in the works.
Meredith, you know, he could write a blog, or somebody could write a blog, and I'll bet you there are blogs out there. There's probably a ton of information. But in the feeding frenzy that we had last year, Brendan would probably know faster than I, but I would bet you at least 30% of the people who were buying homes said, waive the inspection. I want the frickin' house. And it could be
Waiving it and spending $100,000 over asking.
Yep. Don't care what you're asking. I want the house. Don't want the inspection. Okay, now you paid $300,000 for a $100,000 house. That was worth $70,000 to begin with. And you didn't inspect it, and now you've got another $150,000 that you got to dump into it. So you got a $500,000 house that a couple of years ago sold for 70 grand. Not my cup of tea. The bottom line is you can write those blogs, but it's people don't want to hear that. They just want the house. And that's unfortunate, because I'm sure a lot of people got taken to the bank.
Yeah, it seems to be my experience. Most of my agents that I deal with, they keep saying, oh, I don't have any work for you. Everybody's waiving them.
Yep.
Will you tell them to stop?
Maybe that's why we didn't see very many people researching the term.
That very well could be it.
I still think there's a term that is better, because I can't believe only 10,000 people. No, what did we say, 100,000? Between 10 and 100,000.
10,000 to 100,000.
Even if you went to the high side and said 100,000, I can't believe there were only 100,000 people who looked up home inspection. In other words, there are millions of people who are buying homes. You're telling me only 1% of them were looking up the term to about inspection, where to find an inspector. So I guess it wouldn't surprise me if 70% of the people buying last year waived the inspection. That's too scary. I don't want to think about that anymore. Linda, you were asking about suggest a hosting site. A2 hosting. A2 hosting. A2 hosting. I'll say that all day long, but you won't go wrong. So if you're looking for some place to host your website, A2 hosting, that's where you want to go. Now, everybody else has been awfully quiet. Yes, Linda, that is correct. A2hosting.com.
Yeah, Thomas, this has been really interesting, man. I really appreciate this. You spending time.
You're welcome. I'm glad you guys are all here. There are 136 people who were registered. Good thing that I recorded it, because there weren't that many who showed up. And you're welcome, Linda. Thank you for joining us. I guess at this point, Brendan knows he's got a lot of work to do, and we have hit the good, Linda. We'll see you at the next one. Oh boy, excuse me. Anybody else have any questions? And I think my voice is about done, but I can answer a couple more. Can you send the video? Well, what I do is edit the video, and then I put it, if you go, since I'm still sharing this screen, oh, where's the one I am sharing? Get rid of that one. Well, let's see. Let me go to. You guys looking at the use keyword planner? Do I click on the right keyword planner? Thank you, Michelle. Oh, I'm in Chrome. That's the problem. I don't want to be in Chrome. Here we go. In our group, everybody see where my mouse is over here in the top right? Oops. You won't see the group leader resources. You're going to see resources. You won't even see the edit button. But in right underneath here are all the weekly posts. And in this particular one, which is about the video, this one has a link that'll take you directly to. Did I click on the right one? Oh, sorry. Takes you right to the videos that I've recorded. Now there's 2 of them that I need to put in here that haven't been uploaded. But you can go here, so you don't need me to send you the link or send you the video. It's going to be here when I get it. Yes. There you go. You're welcome. And they're each defined as to which they are. And I'm waiting for one to come from Alignable that's been darn near a month. I don't know what they're doing with it. It got recorded through them and it shouldn't have been. At this point, there are 2 of them that I need to put up there, plus today. So this will have all of the videos for you to be able to review whenever. And I probably won't put too many more in here because most of the ones that I'm recording are similar to the others. But some of the times that there are a meeting that was really good, even though we went over some of the same information, we might have covered newer information. So we do have, our group has access to what meetings that we've had if they missed them. Everybody get that? So at this point, you guys have the access to the videos, you've had the meetings, you got your notes, and the weekly posts. Read those weekly posts because they're great. That actually prepares you for all of our meetings so that we can concentrate just on a particular part, but we reference the other meetings, if that all makes sense. So that's about it for today, folks. The next one, let's see, we did the writing content. I think we'll probably do ranks next week. And that will show you more of the ranks NL. Brennan, you're welcome. You're all welcome. Thank you all for joining. And I think it's time that I'm going to go rest my voice and get ready for my chiropractor. Thank you all for joining, and you're welcome. I'll see you on the next one.